I got my OLED Steam Deck a few days ago and wanted to make a quick video talking about my initial impressions and thoughts on the mid-generation refresh, what I love, and some of the unfortunate issues I've encountered. I got the 512GB OLED model, as you will very clearly be able to tell by the incredibly glossy screen reflecting my face throughout the video. While the OLED screen is the big standout feature here, there are quite a large number of smaller improvements I want to go over first. One of the first things I noticed is that the right and left bumper buttons feel significantly better on the OLED model, a lot clickier and far less mushy compared to the original. Similarly, the haptics have been vastly improved. On my launch day LCD model, my two trackpads had very different levels of strength in the haptic feedback, and the pseudo rumble using the trackpad's haptic feedback always felt a bit off. The rumble now actually feels pretty good. Once I got this thing powered on though, oh boy. I had not used a device with an OLED screen before, and I was absolutely blown away. The screen is just gorgeous. Every game I play on the OLED deck, I just marvel at how good it looks on the OLED screen. Certain games seem to benefit more than others. Retro games really pop on the OLED, and games with huge differences between light and dark, such as Dave the Diver or games that tend to be very dark in general, like Path of Exile, make the most of everything the OLED screen has to offer. To be honest, it's going to be difficult to play games on my desktop PC setup now that I've seen how good these games can look on an OLED screen. The image quality isn't the only thing that's dramatically improved about the screen, however. It's kind of wild that Valve downplayed this, but the OLED screen is actually a 90Hz screen. This is huge. Not only does this mean you can play games at frame rates above 60, but it also means that you'll be able to run games with a locked frame rate up to 45 FPS while running your screen's refresh rate at a multiple of that. For instance, running a game at 40 FPS with an 80Hz refresh rate. I tried this out with Path of Exile, and oh man, I can feel the difference in input latency. It feels so much more responsive compared to all the hours I spent playing on the original deck at a 40Hz refresh rate. However, as huge of an upgrade as this is, it unfortunately leads to the one major issue I've stumbled across so far playing games on the OLED deck. In a perfect world, all PC games would run just fine at any arbitrary frame rate. Unfortunately, in the real world, a lot of games, even on PC, are designed with a 60 FPS cap in mind. One of the first games I tried playing on my OLED deck was Shovel Knight, where I ran headfirst into this issue. As you can see from the footage, when I booted the game up and started playing it with the default settings, the game was running at turbo speed. For whatever reason, the way that the Steam Deck caps frame rates was overriding Shovel Knight's intended frame rate cap and causing this issue. I tried to fix it by capping the refresh rate to 60 Hz, but this didn't fix it either. It felt better, but still a bit off. I finally figured out I could fix the game trying to run at 90 FPS by disabling VSync in the settings, revealing that Shovel Knight natively runs at an infuriating 62 FPS. At which point I then had to manually go in and lock the refresh rate of the screen at 62 Hz. And finally, Shovel Knight played correctly. I should point out at this point that Shovel Knight is a Steam Deck verified title on Steam, despite not working correctly without tinkering on OLED Steam Decks. I expect that this is not going to be the only title that has issues with the OLED deck's 90Hz screen. Skyrim, for instance, is notorious for having physics issues when running above 60 FPS, and I expect that Skyrim is a very popular Steam Deck game. The fact that previously verified titles may now have issues compounds these problems. Games with 60 FPS caps cause other issues as well. The OLED screen does not have VRR, or any way of detecting that a game is running at 60 FPS and automatically adjusting the screen's refresh rate. Meaning that by default, many games will be running at 60 FPS on a 90 Hz screen, requiring manual user adjustments on a per game basis in order to get them to match. For people who have an understanding of frame rates and refresh rates and are comfortable with tinkering, this isn't a big deal. But for people looking for a more console-like experience, buying a Steam Deck, playing exclusively deck-verified titles with no desire to tinker with settings, are going to find that the 90 Hz screen is actually a major step backwards in usability. Having said all of that, as someone who is most definitely comfortable with tinkering, I absolutely love my new OLED deck. Games look absolutely gorgeous on this screen, with Death's Door in particular making me gasp at how stunning it looks. If you already have a Steam Deck and the decision of whether to buy an OLED is a major financial decision for you, then I would suggest holding off on a purchase. Performance-wise, the OLED is mostly on par with the original deck, and I suspect the inevitable Steam Deck 2 will come with an OLED screen out of the gate, if you're willing to hold out. As for me, I'm very happy I picked up the OLED. Not only will it allow me to continue with up-to-date coverage on the deck, I previously had the 64GB model. And even with a micro SD card and not installing a single game to the internal storage, I was constantly out of space. There's a good reason Valve is discontinuing the 64GB model. In my opinion, it simply was not sufficient for what the deck was trying to do. You can expect that going forward, my deck check videos will cover OLED-specific features and issues, because if nothing else, my Shovel Knight issues serve as a reminder that the verified checkmark means very little. If you found this video helpful, liking and subscribing has a huge impact in helping the channel out, and I'd really appreciate it. That's all for this video though, and I'll see you in the next one.